It is 3 o'clock, and we will call to order the pre-certification meeting, special call meeting of Richmond County Board of Elections. The first item on the agenda is the preparation for county certification according to SEB Rule 183 112.12F. Travis?
All right, in your packet you should have a copy of the SEB rule, and item 2 that talks about after all the absentee ballots have received by the close of the polls, including those cast by advanced voting and all ballots cast in person on election day and all provisional ballots, if they have been validated, which they have not, have been tabulated. The total number of ballots cast by each vote method shall be reported for each precinct. In your packet, there is a voter comparison by vote method. Up at the top, you'll see where it says total election day, SOVC means statements of vote cast. Next column, the total election day accepted, and that would be meaning accepted by checking the numbered list of voters to see who got credit for voting. AIP stands for advance in person or absentee in person, SOVC. Total advance or absentee in person accepted. ABM, absentee by mail, SOVC, and then absentee by mail accepted. Then the total of the SOVC and the total accepted. If you would like to review the report, and if you have any questions, let me know.
I have a quick question. Can you explain to us real fast again what the minus is?
Yes. So, for example, in the, and I guess it may be easier just to talk you through it. You'll notice that in the AIP column, SOVC versus AIP accepted, we found some irregularities that have happened in the past. Because the poll pad data is pulled basically before the voter registration data is complete, that there are instances where a person's address is not showing correct in the poll pad, and so when the person votes, they are given one ballot style, but then when the credit is moved over to Jarvis, which is our voter registration system, it actually changes that voter to the new address. So in those instances where you see the -1, for example, there was a person in precinct 101, when they voted a 101 ballot, but then when credit was given, they are now in another precinct. We do not know. I've gotten a report from the Secretary of State's office that I'm going through. The interesting thing about this particular rule and this particular meeting, this rule basically is asking for us to reconcile our vote totals, where state law gives us 30 days to reconcile the vote totals. So instead of having 30 days to reconcile the vote totals, we have 2.5 days. And so therefore, I cannot reconcile at this point. However, if you will go to the last column at the bottom, you will see that the number of votes and the number of people who voted AIP are the same. We had 17,468 ballots that were cast, and we had 17,468 people who voted. So those numbers are the same. So I believe in this particular instance, and in all instances, the point of the rule is to make sure that we don't have more ballots cast than people who have voted. And that is what this report shows. Now, if you look in the last column under election day voting, you will see that we have 2 extra people that were given credit than we actually had ballots cast. We have gone through all of the reports. We have identified the 2 precincts or the 2 polling places that this took place in. We have verified the poll pads, the BMD ballot marking, printed ballots and everything. And the only thing that we can determine is that there is a possibility that 2 people voted but then did not scan their ballots in the scanner. We did not have reports of any incidents such as that, but that is about the only thing that we can figure, because we've had 2 more people that checked in than ballots that were actually counted, rather than the other way around, more ballots than we have people. We don't have more ballots than people, we just have 2 people more than ballots. In the last column, in the absentee by mail portion, you will note that on the absentee by mail accepted, our credit is 788, but it shows that we counted 796. Now, that would be a concerning number, or is a concerning number, because what that is saying is that we had more ballots counted than we had people who were given credit. What we determined that situation, if my math is right, that is 8. What we determined happened was, because this was a 2-page ballot, and when counting a 2-page ballot, page 1 is in the system as the header ballot and gives credit to the voter, and page 2 is just page 2. Well, when we were duplicating problems with page 2 ballots, we normally duplicate them on the ballot marking device, the BMD. So when we did the duplication, we just did what we would normally do and skipped the races that had no vote, because we didn't have page 1 on the damaged page 2. We just skipped page 1 and put the votes into page 2. Unfortunately, when we ran the ballots through the scanner looked at that page 1, and even though it was a blank ballot, counted it as a voter. So, to reconcile this, if the board so chooses, if you so vote or would like to take a vote on this, we can rescan those batches that contained these 8 duplicated ballots. We can duplicate page 2 onto an actual paper page 2, and therefore that will not count as an additional person voting, because page 2 does not cause the numbers to go up, only the page 1. We could not pull out both page 2 and page 1 like we would normally do, because they are scanned differently. We don't know who goes with page 1 or who goes with page 2 to be able to duplicate both the front and the back of the ballot. So,
Question.
yes.
The numbers for the SOVC, that would typically be the number of people who voted.
No, the SOVC are the number of ballots that were counted.
The number of ballots, okay. And so right now what we're seeing is a report that's showing us 8 more ballots present than there are voters.
That is correct. That is correct.
And the way to remedy that is to rescan those 800 and some odd ballots.
Actually, no. We found another solution.
good.
I know,
Here.
I know. The other solution is we have already identified the batches that those 8 ballots were in.
Okay.
So we can just rescan those 8 batches.
That's perfect.
As opposed to rescanning all 800 ballots.
And if we do that, or if we move forward with that, that will then make, in theory, I guess. at
Thank
this
you, I was gonna
point,
say, in theory,
it will
and
make our numbers then match like they should.
that is correct.
Because we'll do it on the paper ballot, the scanner will know what it's looking at and not be confused by that BMD ballot in the middle of all those long.
That is correct,
ballots.
yes ma'am.
Okay. Okay, any questions from the board to Travis?
Well, I have a little question.
Which-
I'm confused, okay? Because you're looking at the bottom page, and the SOVC, you got 796. Under the accepted, you got 788. That's
Right.
8 ballots difference.
Yes.
Okay. Now, under the total, it's got 797, and total accepted is 791. That's 6 ballots difference.
That's, Sherry, the difference there is because of the 2 people who marked a ballot but didn't scan a ballot.
But that's only 2 people.
That's.
Right, but that's in a different column, right?
So this, I'm sorry, so the total runs across, the difference is 6, because you take +2 in election day, minus 8 in absentee, gives you a +6. But we've already identified, we know where the minus
the
2 is coming
Okay.
from. The minus 2 is coming from election day because 2 ballots were not scanned.
Okay.
The +8 is
So
coming
you're
from.
taking the 2 from the 8, and that leaves you the 6 difference?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's countywide 6.
Okay,
And
that's
just
what
to
I was a little
clarify,
confused about.
You've spoken with
Yeah, that's-
people at KSU, and this is, and there's.
This is theory. Yes, this is theory that this would, so that there's 2 options. One option is to rescan those batches for the 6 ballots. Or the second option is we have identified what the issue is. We did not have 6 more people vote, but it's because of the 2-page ballot, which we've never encountered before. And the 2-page ballot, everything counts as 2. And so we have identified that 6 of those we used page 1 and page 2.
Is it 6 or is it
8,
8?
I'm sorry, 8.
Thank you.
Where we used page 1 and page 2, which created the 8. If we had just used page 2, we would not have that discrepancy.
Okay, okay, all right, I'm tracking. And so, bottom line is, if we certify our election results based on what we have in front of us, it is going to show and appear as though 8 more people voted than actually did vote. Right. And so we rescan, and doing it the proper way under these circumstances, and our numbers then should equalize. Now, if it doesn't, then we've got a whole nother,
Madam Chair, I think regardless, even if we do identify those 6, they're not going to equalize because the 2
because of the two.
are going to be
you will
impossible
continue
to
be on those
reconcile.
two.
We're always going to be 2 off.
Yeah, but with those 2, you say in theory you identified that possibly 2 people did not scan their ballots, correct?
It would
That's-
appear.
That is
what-
correct.
that's what
That
we're
is-
thinking.
that is correct.
How- Can we, is there a way to zero that out?
No, sir.
Because
Okay.
we have 2 more people checked in on the poll pads, that we have ballots to account for those voters. And so they checked in, and it, I will say, you know, even back in my day, it happens.
Yeah.
It does. And the only thing that we could think of over the years is that someone perhaps thought that the ballot marking device actually was all they needed to do, and that this was their receipt on how they voted. And they fold it up and they stick it in their pocket, and out they go.
And that too is theory. So I think we should go ahead and do the rescan.
I think so too.
I move that we go ahead and have the department scan the second part of the ballots that they know under the 788 to bring it up to the 796. And then I further move that we accept the two difference, knowing that somewhere along the way, two people did not scan the ballot, so that we're going to be two people.
And I think that that's a very fair assumption.
Yes.
Okay, so there is a motion
No, second.
for that, and there's a second. So a motion and a second to move forward with rescanning those batches that we have identified that need to be rescanned in order to rectify our numbers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay,
You'll
that
excuse me
motion
for
carries. So
just a second.
we'll pause the meeting?
No, we can continue on.
We can continue on, okay.
Madam Chair, I move that we have a 5-minute recess for that, right?
5-minute recess it is.
Okay.
Good enough.
that to order and proceed with the, going over the numbers here. So we're back in session.
Okay, so the next item on SED rules says a list of voters who voted in the election shall be compiled, including by category, the number of voters who voted election day in person, advanced voting, and absentee and provisionally. The list shall be examined for duplicates. The list shall then be sorted by precinct, and the number of unique voter identifiers for each precinct shall be counted. The total number of unique voters who voted for each voting method shall be recorded for each precinct. So here we have the numbered list of voters here, where the column you'll see where it says state ID, that is the unique identifier. With conditional formatting, we've highlighted it in red if any duplicates appear. So hold on to your epileptic seizure medicine.
Don't look for your name.
Are we looking for anything in real, Travis?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not 10,000.
You have some reason behind that.
We do, I know that would be a thought. I'm trying to think of what would be appropriate. I don't think the Jeopardy. Oh, that, okay, I was saying definitely not the Jeopardy, not the Jeopardy music.
How about Jaws?
Mm.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
a little scary.
It looks like it slows down a second.
I know. We all take turns. Holding the button down. That's right.
We have that one person in class that says, could you go back up to that person?
Did I blink and miss it?
Pay attention, that's what the teacher
One
was saying.
person.
I think it's 8. It was one of each batch. Actually, that's not true. I think there were 2 so I remember, there may have been 2 that were in a batch together, but I don't remember. Unfortunately, once we rescan those batches, then if there's anything that that's why we have the overview panel is here, because if there's anything in those batches that has to be re-adjudicated, then we'll have to adjudicate that also.
How many voters we have this election? 13,000?
How many voters?
33,
33,000, oh, never mind.
actually maybe more than that. 17,000, 27, yeah, 38. About 17,000.
Okay. So we're not even third of the way done yet.
Well, this is only election day, people. Then we get to do this again for the absentee in advance.
We got that one precisely.
Good.
Just wanted to give you something to look forward to.
So this should be 20,533.
This number may be off. We've had to, when we were doing our paperwork, there were at least 5 locations that, when the voter did their check-in and then they did the cancellation, like, for example, the person chose a nonpartisan and they changed their mind and they wanted a Democratic ballot, or vice versa, and they cancel it for whatever reason, the poll pad did not recognize that cancellation. It created them a card, but it did not give them credit, and so we had to manually give credit, so they're not, this is the numbered list of voters that comes from the poll pad, but we had to give them credit in Jarvis, so I don't think that this is, it won't, right. Now, under the condensed time frame, we don't really have a report that has all that.
Travis, what's the 121 number in column E stand for?
That is, 121 stands for, that is our county code. Richmond is county
Okay.
code 121. And then the other 3 digits is the precinct number.
Right.
And then in column G, you'll see the first 3 digits, it represents the district combo number that goes with that particular precinct. We have 23, I believe, district combos spread out over the 67 precincts.
And the district combo, Travis, is a unique set of offices according to their district. So it's a certain commission district, certain house district, certain senate district, certain congressional district. That's unique.
Correct, that is correct.
And there may be 1 precinct in that district combo, or there may be 15.
Correct. So when we do any type of redistricting, of course, we look at the combinations. And so, for example, as Lynn was saying, Congressional District 12, House District 22, Congressional District 12, House District 22, Senate District 22, sorry, House 130, Commission 2, and that's what creates those combos. And that was, for example, that was one of the reasons why when we merged the voters from May and Mize who were in precinct 208 with the people at Building Worship 201, even though they were different precinct numbers, they were the same district combination. So by merging them, we reduced 1 precinct, but they retained the same district combo.
Travis, that column B represents their identification number within the state system?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's one these columns are ordered by, and that's one we're looking for matches on, right?
Yes, sir.
It should match up and read, yes. But just show, just to everybody that will.
That is their unique identifier. that one that popped up red, as you see, this one, this was my test person, as you see in the column here, their name test. All right, so that was election day. Now we'll go with absentee and advance voters. I know, right? I know.
That would be the easiest thing to do.
Here's a question for you.
Yes, sir.
What if somebody, because we're doing conditional formatting in two separate spreadsheets, couldn't we miss it if there was someone who voted in both spreadsheets?
Possibly.
So I guess what I'm getting at is, proper way to do this would actually be to combine the two in one spreadsheet and then apply conditional formatting. Make sense?
It does.
Not necessarily advocating to do this all over again.
I was about to say I can, if you'd like. No.
But
I believe there's actually a separate report in Jarvis that we might be able to use. They've worked on the participation list, which is a combination of election day and absentee in advance. The difference in that, though, I believe that if we use that participation list, I believe there are filters involved. And, for example, if a person voted election day and they tried to give the person credit and the person already had credit, it probably would not put them in the system twice. So I don't think that would be a good mechanism of doing that. However, what you state, yes, we could combine these two spreadsheets.
Just
sort.
copy paste one into the other.
Yes, and then sort it numerically for that purpose. So I'll do that for the write-off. What I'll probably do, because these two spreadsheets are formatted differently, meaning the header rows are different. So it's not just a matter of, cutting and pasting one on top of the other. So I would probably just need to extract the unique identifiers from those, create a third spreadsheet, and just have the unique identifiers in that. And also look and see, there may be a,
Looks like it would be easy if you just merge column B, which is the individual numbers. If you merge those together, so if they had, if there's a duplicate, that should pop out there.
right, but it would just be, you would have to cut column B, you're right, into one or the other. You can't merge the two
Right.
spreadsheets because they have different header. Yes, ma'am.
But I was just thinking if you just did the Bs.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you found anything was like a duplicate, then you would know that.
Right.
I think I recall in COVID, I requested an absentee ballot and then decided not to do that. And then went to the polling place. They had to cancel my absentee ballot in order to let me vote in person.
Yes, sir.
It was one of those things where if that was missed.
It wouldn't be because because they canceled your absentee, it would be canceled on here as well. I think we had a situation, if you'll remember, previous election, we had a duplicate on here, and it appeared, and when we looked at it, we were able to scroll over and see that one was canceled and one was accepted. But in your case, you're right, you would still probably both appear on both of them, one showing canceled, one showing voted.
Because your absentee ballot has already been issued to you.
I don't remember if it was laziness or paranoia that led to that. It might have been both.
Well, as long as we know that you did request it. It wasn't one of the 10 that was mailed to you automatically.
With machines, easy to read returns.
G is your birthday, of the year of birth.
Any major problem?
No, not, well, this new place is smaller,
That's definitely not the other.
so it is going to be a little bit of a challenge.
Your birthday one's gonna be
storing, and testing in the new facility. We'll get it figured out, but right now,
So it's brilliant minds that work for the state of Georgia, the state district for
we're working on it.
That's a good, good system.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wondered if y'all had any problems. Because here, I remember one time we had to do the big door here and everything to make it easier. to-
Right.
I didn't know we had to do anything.
Well, we did have a new double door installed at that location, so we've got the double door and the bay, we have a roll-up door to use as well. But it was at the, other location, we had 5 exit points that we could use for loading and unloading. Now we only have the 2. But not everybody comes back at the same time, so unloading is a little bit easier. The problem is going to come with the load out, when everybody shows up at the same time, but we're not able to load all 5 trucks at the same time, like we've been doing. That's the-
Everything's like over there, everything is at the new place? that you
All of the
brought in?
machines are at the new place. Monday, we will be moving the rest of the supplies, the batteries, the bookcases, paperwork, and things like that.
I was very surprised as I came in on 56 and the place I rode by, Butler, they have made a lot of progress since I saw it.
Yes.
For sure. And that building is just standing out in the middle of
Yes.
a red clay
Yes.
field.
Yes, unfortunately started ripping up the parking lot during our special election runoff in April and caused us bids.
Year of birth in college either?
Year of birth, yes, sir.
Not any of them are starting with 2.
Well, that's, we can look at the, as you see,
There's one.
as our numbers are growing here, the unique identifier are growing, so you will maybe possibly see more of the 2000s as the numbers get a little bit higher.
See, every once in a while.
In the runoff election, how much do we cover in that as far as the cost of it?
100%.
Versus the state, the state does not cover any of that at all. That's all of us. Average out how much per person to vote.
I do not know.
What's the cost for this election?
I've got a presentation for you during the next meeting.
Okay.
Not a presentation, I have an update.
We'll whip it out on a slide rule then.
The only difference on this one will be early voting.
That is correct.
That's the only difference. We're gonna have 1 week of early voting. So that's what the only cost difference should be. Because you said that probably about the same amount of machines, won't you?
We are looking at reducing that number due to the timeline. Well, my formatting didn't pop up on that. So these 2, as you see, are the 2 tests on that. So with that, so a list of all the voters compiled shall be sorted by the precinct, total number of unique identifiers shall be counted, and the total number of unique shall be recorded for each precinct, which we've gone through that. Then the next item is number 4. It says for each precinct, the board member shall compare the total number of ballots cast to the total number of unique identifiers. If any precinct in which the number of ballots exceeds the number of unique voters, the ballot shall determine the method of voting in which the discrepancy exists, and the board shall investigate the discrepancy, and no votes shall be counted from that precinct until the results are investigated and presented to the board. So basically what we did in item 2, when we identified the issue in the absentee by mail, the board has decided to rescan the ballots in the absentee precinct. And so that is what y'all have voted to do in number 4, and we're rescanning those ballots. to correct that. And number 5 says that if any errors are discovered and cannot be properly corrected, then you should determine the method of voting, which we are being able to correct the ones that we need to correct. And that concludes the SEB rule.
Okay, board members, you have heard the information, seen the reports. Are there any questions of the board to Mr. Doss? Hearing none, we will take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Before we do it, do we need a motion that we have complied with SEB rule?
Sure.
I will so move that we comply with this.
Okay, so it's a two-part motion. One, that having applied,
Having complied with everything.
complied with the SEB rule, no questions of Travis.
I'll second the motion.
Second that motion. Is there any discussion? For everyone say, all those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That motion carries. And now let's take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Second, there's a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries.
All right, so with that, if you want to take a slight recess, or we have a couple of options. One, we have the second certification meeting. We can begin the certification meeting. We can go through the provisionals. We can do the recap. And then before we certify, we can then examine the absentee ballots that were added back in. We can examine the certification report for the provisional ballots and discuss any other ballots that might need to be added back in.
I think that sounds like a good plan. We'll move forward with those, if everyone's in agreement with that. We'll move forward with the second meeting and then pause when we need to. And when we take that pause, Travis, maybe you can give us, get a progress report for us.
Yes.
Just in terms of what's going on upstairs. Okay. All right. I would like to call this election certification meeting of the Richmond County Board of Elections to order. First item on the agenda is to consider any provisional or challenge ballots cast during the May 19th, 2026 general primary nonpartisan election. Travis?
All right, I will turn this over to Katina. You should have in your packet a provisional ballot report, and so Katina, if you'd like to go through that.
Sure, okay. We're going to start off with Group A. And Group A is out of precinct ballots that were provisional ballots that were cast after 5 o'clock p.m. with the after 5 p.m. affidavit that they have to complete. Right? So we had 25 voters to cast those provisional ballots out of precinct for after 5, and they all had the affidavit. So the staff's recommendation would be to duplicate those ballots and count the eligible races.
Madam Chair, I move that we duplicate those ballots and count those ballots in Group A.
Second.
So motion and a second to accept and count the ballots in Group A on the provisional report. Is there any discussion about that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against nay, that motion carries.
Okay, next is Group B. Now, we did have out of precinct voters that were cast ballots after 5 p.m., but no affidavits were completed on that. Staff tried to contact the ones that we were able to contact the voter to see if we can get the affidavit. Unfortunately, no phone calls were returned. So with those 5 ballots, the staff's recommendation is to reject those ballots.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor.
Madam Chair, I move that we reject the ballots in Group B.
Second.
Motion and a second to reject those provisional ballots with no affidavit in Group B. there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion carries.
All right, we go to Group C. That was out of precinct affidavit, out of precinct ballot cast after 5 with the affidavit, but the voter did not live in Richmond County, and there was nothing to prove that they attempted to register or register prior to the voter registration deadline. So the staff's recommendation would be to reject that ballot.
Madam Chair, I move to reject the ballot and affidavit during Group C.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to reject the provisional ballot in Group C. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. That motion carries.
Okay, now we're into Group D, which is a V voter, which that was a voter who was showing pending citizenship when they went to vote, so they cast a provisional ballot. But the voter did provide to our office proof that they were a citizen, so the staff's recommendation would be to count that ballot.
Madam Chair, I move that we count the voter in D, Group D.
A second.
There's a motion and a second to count the voter in Group D as citizenship had been provided. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. That motion carries.
Okay, now we're into Group E, which is a PR voter, which that voter didn't show registered in Richmond County. We did research to see if by chance the voter had attempted to register to vote prior to the voter registration deadline. Unfortunately, they did not, so they appeared to register in another county, so the staff's recommendation would be to reject that ballot.
Madam Chair, I move that we reject the ballot in Group E.
Yes. Second.
So motion and a second to reject the provisional ballot in Group E. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. That motion carries.
Okay, and then the final group is Group F, which is absentee provisional ballot. We had a voter return their ballot to us without a signature, but the voter did return the information to cure that ballot, so the staff recommendation would be to count that ballot.
Madam Chair, I move that we count the ballot in Group F.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to count the vote in Group F of the provisional report. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, Katrina. So it shows that we will be counting 27 of the provisional ballots, and we are rejecting 5, 6, 7 are being rejected. So, Katina, if you would like to, yes, get those added into that.
Great. Okay. The next item on the agenda is a recap of the May 19, 2026 general primary and nonpartisan election. That's
All right, you should have a copy there with the heading of recap of the May 19, 2026 general primary and special election. Should be general primary, nonpartisan, and special election. We had the number of registered voters for this primary and special and nonpartisan election was 131,245. The unofficial number of voters as of election night was 38,797. Percentage turnout was 29.56% turnout. We had 41 polling locations that were open. We used 327 poll workers election day. The cost for poll workers election day was $68,540. We had 4 advanced voting sites open. The advanced voting sites were open for 3 weeks. We used about 55 poll workers for those 3 weeks. The total cost for advanced voting was $116,650. We deployed 490 machines to the polling places. We used 80 for advance. And the total cost for this election, I'm estimating to be about $285,000. Of course, that includes the advanced voting workers, poll workers, the delivery trucks, the testing of the equipment, the delivery of the equipment, the absentee ballots. The absentee ballot cost was higher because of the two-page ballot. And it was actually double in cost because it was 2 pages. Then, of course, then we have to have the emergency ballots, which we have to order 10% emergency ballots, provisional ballots. And so, unfortunately, it's very expensive.
I'm curious, was more postage?
There was more
required?
postage. Yes, ma'am, postage has gone up. I think it's like $1.50 per ballot, somewhere around in there, where it used to be like 90 to $1.10.
Okay.
So the postage has gone up as well.
Did it
Now,
go up because of a 2-page ballot?
no, ma'am, I don't believe so.
Okay.
No, I don't think that increased the weight too much. But I can't. I don't know that. That's a good question. Since we, as you know, we send it to the
Yeah,
mail room and
that's right.
they send it. We don't affix postage on it ourselves. Regarding in-person voting, we had 17,468 people vote advance, 20,533 election day. Total number of in-person voters, 38,001. We issued 897 ballots by mail. The unofficial total was 788. We have received about 7 ballots back after the deadline that could not be counted. We did not have any absentee applications that needed to be cured, but we did have 5 absentee ballots that needed to be cured. 4 of those were cured prior to the deadline. 1, we got in touch with the voter to try and cure it before the deadline, and she stated that she would not be curing that ballot. We've had 34 provisional ballots, which we are adding into the record at this point. Talking about different issues that we had during this election, as most of you know, because you received my text about the parking issues at Mount Calvary. The elementary school across the street from Mount Calvary was holding their Honors Day program at 9 o'clock and 1 o'clock. The school came over to the church and asked if they could use the parking lot, and the church granted them access. And when we became aware of that, we put out voter parking only in one section of the parking lot. The parents of the elementary school disregarded our signs, and unfortunately we had to dispatch 3 poll workers in the parking lot to try and help with the situation. We ended up then having to call Richmond County Sheriff's Department and the school board safety department to handle the issue out there. Unfortunately, this was a situation created by the church because they did tell the school that they could use their parking lot. We will be following up with the church and hoping that they do not do that again on any future elections. At Southside Baptist Church, at about 2 o'clock, the breakers were popping on the machine, on the batteries because of a shortage. One of the battery backups that we sent had a short, causing a power outage. The battery started smoking, and so we were down to about 4 machines for a brief period of time. We were able to get the machines back up. Voting never ceased, but there were issues with having to reroute the BMDs to other batteries and other power supplies during that period of time. We had a situation at Carrie Mays. We had a gentleman who had his sample ballot, which is what we encourage people to bring in their sample ballots. Or at least he had a piece of paper. I don't know if it was a sample ballot or a piece of paper. And the poll worker observed him talking to the person next to him with the piece of paper. She did not know that it was a sample ballot, so she told him to put it away. And unfortunately, when she was later informed that it was a sample ballot, we corrected her on that to make sure that she did realize that voters could have sample ballots, and of course we encourage them to have sample ballots. But at the time, she wasn't aware that it was a sample ballot. She thought that it was something was with the piece of paper and all of this, so there was a bit of confusion there. We did have the gentleman write a letter complaining that he was told to put away his sample ballot, and we did get in contact with the manager and made sure that she was aware that voters can have their sample ballots. They're allowed to have their sample ballots. They're just not allowed to share that sample ballot with anyone else. And the situation was resolved after that. Other issues with this election, of course, was the 2-page ballot. We worked real hard in making sure that voters knew that on the absentee ballot that they needed to return both pages of the absentee ballot. And then on election day, we put signage in all of the voting booths reminding voters that the ballot would be printed 2 pages front and back, to wait until the ballot completed being printed before removing it from the printer. And we did have some situations where, for unknown reasons, the ballot did not print on the back of the ballot, and so voters unfortunately had to do a revote on the ballot. And we're still looking into those situations to see why that would have happened. But anytime we have a ballot this big, unfortunately, there are issues that come out of it. We are continuing to have problems at the Providence Baptist Church due to air conditioning. The room that we use does not have an air conditioning unit that is sufficient to cool the room. We have put fans, box fans, industrial fans, but it just is not sufficient. So for the runoff, I'm looking to contract with Train, our AC person for the county, about having portable AC units out there for the runoff. It is not a good situation, but there are no alternatives in that area.
Here's a dumb question, an obvious question. You've spoken with the church about this?
I have. I had a conversation with the church. They are aware of the situation. However, they do not have the money to invest in a larger AC unit, and for their purposes, they don't use the big room except in the fall and winter. They use the smaller classrooms that do have sufficient air. But yes, they are aware of the situation, but they just don't have the financial means to correct the situation.
So we're doing the best we can?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
And that concludes the recap for this election. If you'll turn over your piece of paper, we know that there will be a runoff in this election. The runoff date is June the 16th. The voter registration deadline for the federal candidate, we have one U.S. Senate candidate on the Republican side. So anyone who registered to vote after April the 20th, but before May the 12th, we'll be able to vote on that one race only. Everyone else who wants to vote for governor and anything else would have had to have been registered to vote by April the 20th. We have the Memorial Day holiday coming up on Monday the 25th. We will have our risk limiting audit for the May 19th primary election on May the 29th. We will begin logic and accuracy testing on January the 1st. June the 1st, excuse me, woohoo. June the 1st, that wasn't a typo, that was just a misspeak. June 1st, 2026. The last day that a person can request an absentee ballot is June the 5th, which is next Friday, or 2 Fridays from today. We will begin advanced voting on June the 8th. All 4 locations will be open from 8:30 to 6. It will be open for 1 week from June the 8th to June the 12th. June the 8th is also our next regularly scheduled monthly meeting. As I stated already, June the 12th is the last day of advanced voting. The primary runoff, nonpartisan runoff, is on June the 16th. The office will be closed on Friday, June the 19th. So we would then need to do our pre-certification meeting on June the 22nd, and I believe the board voted to do the pre-certification and the certification meeting both on that Monday, June the 22nd. And then we will have our risk limiting audit on that Friday, June the 29th. We have not received ballot proofs yet, but it is my understanding the races that will appear on the runoff ballot are Republican U.S. Senate, Republican Governor, Republican Lieutenant Governor, Democratic Lieutenant Governor, Republican Secretary of State, Democratic Secretary of State, Democratic Commissioner of Insurance, Republican State School Superintendent, Democratic Commissioner of Labor, Republican Public Service Commission District 5, Democratic U.S. House District 12, Mayor and Commission District 8. In the runoff, anyone who was eligible to vote in the original primary and election are eligible to vote in the runoff, even if they did not vote in the original election. However, if a person voted Republican in the original primary, they can only vote Republican in the runoff. If they voted Democrat, they can only vote Democrat in the runoff. If they voted nonpartisan, they can vote in either primary, since they did not declare a party in the original primary and election. So those are the 3 options that people can use when voting in the June 16th runoff.
Madam Chair, just one question. For the June 22nd, 2026 pre-certification / certification meeting, we can do that at 3 p.m.? Or we can do that here?
That is, we have to have the pre-certification by 3 p.m.
Okay.
So there's not a time necessary. However, depending on provisionals, the certification meeting would need to take place before or after 5, depending on provisionals. That we won't know until closer to time. So customarily, we have had the pre-certification at 3 p.m. and we've set the certification meeting to immediately follow, and we have scheduled it usually for out here.
Okay.
So, Travis, you were recommending or informing this board that this meeting on Monday the 22nd needs to be at 3 out here.
Actually, we can table that final decision until our regular monthly meeting on June the 8th, if you would like to discuss it further at the June 8th meeting. we don't have to make a determination right now for the June 22nd meeting.
Madam Chair, since we already know we cannot do it on the 19th, and because the election is the 16th, I think it would be just prudent for us to go ahead and establish it for June the 22nd. That's the earliest date we can have it,
Correct.
and have it at 3 o'clock out here, normally, as we normally would do. And I think if we go ahead and do that now, then all of us can go ahead and make sure our calendars reflect that, rather than waiting to the 8th.
That's what I'm
Okay.
thinking, we're
Is
trying
that,
to use
is that
it out.
agreed?
That's good to me.
Okay, I'm seeing head nods across the table. Okay, Travis, we're good to go.
To the extent that's a motion, I'll second it.
Well, I have made it, but I will make
Yeah.
that into a motion if we can.
Okay.
I will second that motion.
Okay, so motion and a second that the pre-certification meeting be set for Monday, June 22nd, at 3 p.m. out here, to be followed by the certification meeting at 5 o'clock. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
None against, nay. The motion carries. Okey-doke. Okay, and so at this point, the next agenda item is the certification of the results, which we don't have quite yet, so we're going to pause meeting. Travis, if you'll go check, give us an update from staff on what to expect, that would be great. And we'll we'll take a 10-minute recess and see where we are.
Right.
point going to resume our certification meeting. The time now is 4:55, and we're going to continue on when Mr. Doss returns to the table. There we go, thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
We're going to continue on with the recap. And I know from time to time, we have, as board members, have members of the public reach out to us with things that they've experienced, and so this would be a great opportunity to talk about any of those, and we'll start with Member Beverly.
So, one of the things that I kind of want to bring to the board's attention is that on the day of the election, just kind of went around to different precincts to see how things were going. There's a couple of things that kind of stood out to me in two places especially. One was Henry Brigham, and then the other one was at Warren Road. So the thing that stood out was that I walked in and said, how are things going? Are you having any problems? But I noticed that 3 or 4 people walked in and they walked into the wrong polling place. And so I asked them, well, how many people have you guys turned around? This was maybe 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the day. They had already turned around 50 people because they were at the wrong polling place. I'm not sure whether or not it's been, and most of them believe that it's because that's where they went for early voting. So I'm like 50 people, that's quite a lot. And I asked the question, was that for senior citizens who just didn't know? And they said it was across the board, both senior citizens and those that were not senior citizens. The second place that I went to was to Warren Road. And I asked Warren Road how many people that they had to turn around, because it seemed like that was kind of becoming prevalent. And they turned around 70 people, I think, for the day. About 70 people were turned around because they were at the wrong polling place. And once again, that might have been because they did early voting and they thought that they were at the wrong place. I'm not sure about the other precincts. The other ones are doing maybe 1 or 2 people, but that's over 100 and some odd people that was turned around. If you just take 10% of that, or 20%, they got frustrated and didn't go anywhere. We lost some voters there. The other concern that they had, when I asked them what was a concern, some of them, well, in each location that I went to, they all said they wish they had some security at the close of the election day. My understanding is that either the marshal or Richmond County does come out at the end of it, but I was not there, so I don't know. But each one of them said that they wanted, if they could have some security when they close out at night. Last but not least, the only other thing that I saw that was, I'm not sure how this worked, but and it's kind of like this, we said earlier, there was a person standing next to a person and they opened up and they had a sheet that they had there. The machines were kind of set side by side, kind of catty-cornered, I guess you could use that word. And my question is, could they have not been placed back to back, where a person could not look over and see what the other person was voting for on the other side? So those are the 3 things that I saw that were kind of interesting to me. Voter turnaround because at the wrong polling place, security at the close of the election, and then the position of the machine side by side versus back to back.
I will just following your conversation, say that in all the advanced voting centers, Diamond Lakes and even downtown, there are multitudes of people who come there because, as you say, that's all they know. There are a lot of people that's the only thing that they know to do. Or maybe they just go by on the chance that they can vote there or something, who's to say. So it's something that we deal with. Now, we do know if it's after 5 o'clock, they can go to provisional ballot there at those places. But if it's before 5, there really are no options other than going to their home polling place to vote. In fact, interestingly enough, election night, I was in the public viewing room up there this stranger walked in. I said, "Can I help you?" "Yes, I'm here to vote." I was like, "No, no, you're not."
Wow.
But the good news is that each one of the poll pads has the ability to look up a voter countywide. And so the voter can leave that place with certainty in knowing where it is they need to go and be to cast their ballot. So that's the good news. The other two matters, Travis, do you want to talk about security? Is there anything you can add to that?
As far as security, we do, we contact the sheriff's department and we have them do routine drive-bys through precincts, parking lots during the day. And of course, we have them on standby if we have any issues. We have not hired security at the polling place. If that is something the board would like to look into, I do know that if we were to do that, they would be special deputy workers at a cost, of 50 to whatever their overtime rate is. I know we do have to pay, marshals deputies when we have advanced voting on Sunday. We pay them here for poll worker training. Anytime we have a meeting out here and election night, and for this election, it was about $7,000 that we paid for, marshal security. So if that is something the board would want to look into, I would need to look into the cost. We got 41 polling locations, so you can do the math on what that would cost to have security at all the polling locations. And of course, it is not recommended that you have security during election day because people see that as voter intimidation. If you have a police officer at a polling location election day, so there's that concern that has always been in the past of having a deputy, an armed deputy at a polling place election day, because there are many people that see that as voter intimidation. Of course, after the polls close, for the security of our poll workers, that is something that we could talk about if necessary. I know we have had separate occasional instances where at Eastview a couple of elections ago there were some people in the parking lot, and so the poll manager called us and she was concerned about when she left, and we did send a marshal's deputy over there to be with them, to escort them to their cars and things like that. But that has been on just a case-by-case basis. It has not been something that we have routinely done. So that's, again, at the will of the board, I can look into that. And what was the other one? I'm sorry.
Placement of machines.
Oh, placement of the
Privacy
machines.
of the vote.
We do the best we can with the placement of the voting machines. We do put them at an angle. We do have those privacy screens up on the machines. Unfortunately, many of the locations that we use are very small locations that, some of those locations are places that have a lower number of voters, so they have lower number of machines. Do you recall which location, Reverend Beverly, you were referring to?
Yes, sir. One location we looked at was Sharon Baptist, where they were, and also at Good Shepherd as well. They were placed in such a way that really I can just lean my head over to the side and I probably could look over and see a little bit what they were doing. It was just a question as to whether or not that is, if it's able to go back to back. But if it's not, then like you see, you have the privacy screens that are there. But they were angled in such a way you really couldn't lean over and see what that person was voting for, or who that person was voting for.
Well, I know at Sharon there is an issue there because of the number of machines that we have to send there, due to the law of having one machine per 250 registered voters. So there is a lot of machines sent at Sharon. The issue at Good Shepherd is due to the power location. The machines The power supply comes from the auditorium area, so it is not really possible. I mean, I guess I'll have to look into it, but the problem with going back to back is the machines are back to back, but then you end up with the other machines with the voters themselves then being back to back, and then that becomes a safety hazard where they bump into each other when they go into the machines. We're limited in our space at Good Shepherd because of where the outlets are located. This, of course, was the first time that we used Good Shepherd, so we could possibly look into a different configuration. So that's something we can look into.
Madam Chair, if I may. I went to several locations. I didn't go to as many this time as I normally do, but I always go in and talk to them and ask them how things are going, if there's anything they feel like they need. And they were all very complimentary about how well things were going. Most of them were telling me that it was just steady. They didn't have a spurt or anything, but most of them was steady all day long, and that things were just going as usual. Most of the poll managers, they're very used to the machines now. They're used to the closing routine, and they all said things were fine. I didn't have anyone that came up with anything. No one had said that they had any disruption or anything with any voter that came in. I know at Warren Road, this is a habit they have because they are a early voting and people come in all the time. And the poll manager there has been there for a long time. She's a very sweet lady. And she always makes sure that whoever is at the poll pad gives them the location of their polling precinct and tells where to go to vote.
I would hope that they would all do that.
So I know that she does that in particular because she's very conscientious about everything over there, because this is a habit they have because everybody comes for early voting. And so she's very conscientious about that. I know that they do have to redirect. I never say turn the people away. I always just say they have to redirect the voter to their correct precinct and polling location.
So that's what they did at
Yeah.
Henry Bingham, and I give them super credit for that because they were able to tell them exactly
Right, exactly
where
where
to
to go.
go. And actually, we pulled at that. Matter of fact, Ms. Reese pulled up my voter page, and I'll also help to direct people as to where to go. So they did find their location. Absolutely, they got their found location. So you're right, the poll workers are excellent in helping them get to the correct place. I think just the numbers kind of shocked me just a little bit, though, when you have 50 in one place and then 70 in the other. So it's not the polling location that's the issue, and I'm not sure there is whether or not we're putting out the information in such a way that they have it. The other thing that we noticed, and I did kind of put that in there, was that making sure that we have, like when you go to Sharon, we have a vote here signs, but they were at the very beginning of the street, all the way up at the top. So when you make that turn to go in, you don't see another sign.
So you don't know what part of the building to go to?
Right, you don't see
How
another
far-
sign
how
until you
far
get to
is
They need more.
Well, they should have two. They put one at the road so people can know that the building, and then they have one at the door. But we also have other signs that we can put in the ground if necessary. But normally, most locations have two, so we put them on the road. So if when a person is driving by, they will spot the building, and then we put one at the door. But we could, obviously look into putting the vote here signs. If you went to Good Shepherd, you'll notice that is exactly what we did there. We had one at the road. We had the red pop-up signs, for I don't know what you would call them, stake signs staked in the ground that directed people, around the corner to the back where the voting room was, and we used those a lot at the different locations. But to address the issue with the advanced voting, that has been a problem from day one because we use election day sites as advanced voting sites. People always show up at an advanced voting site. We have signs posted during advanced voting that state, this polling location is for advanced voting only. Election day, you have to go to your election day place. The municipal building, we are constantly turning people away at the municipal building because we are not a polling location at all. The Marshal's Department is assisting us with that. We had handouts to give to voters to go to the My Voter page to find their location, so we can look voters up. I don't know what else to do in that regard. Every interview, every Facebook post, every time I opened my mouth, I was saying, verify your polling location before you go. The media says that, the radio says that. So I don't know any other way to get that information out to people, to tell them to verify their polling location before Election Day.
I guess one thing I'd say is maybe a bit of a comment, is that 120 voters out of 38,817 who voted on Election Day is a minuscule, a very small percentage. And it's sort of like to some extent, I think that rate of confusion I'm surprised it is that low. I'm surprised there's that few, just because of the, I don't know if you've ever worked any job dealing with the general public, but the level of just sort of like misunderstanding and confusion that people sort of walk around with. I mean, I think, that rate's like lower than your rate of schizophrenia, right? So, in the general population. So I guess what I just say is like, I think those numbers are low and acceptable.
But Mr. Adams, I just want to defend this number. That was just the time that we were there.
Fair enough, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Fair enough.
You're right, okay.
But can I make just one last comment?
Yes,
as far as
please.
the sign? One of the things I recognized was the sign that we had that says vote here was intermingled with the signs of people who were running for office. And so when you have those intermingled in between, you can drive right past it and thinking that you're looking at the sign.
Sure.
that says, "Vote
Campaigners
for me."
take great liberties.
Yeah, they
And the other thing people is, they go out, when they put out the machines and they put out the signs, vote here. And during the evening before Election Day, people will go around and they will cover up each other's signs and they will cover up the vote here sign. And it is just the people that are doing the signs for the candidates. So our sign, it starts off in a good place, but by the time everybody else puts their sign out, they're gonna cover ours, they're gonna cover theirs. They wanna be out in the most prominent place, which is where we start off.
But I will say, I think that the campaign signs and then the people holding the signs is free advertisement. I mean, if you see a bunch of people and a bunch of signs, there must be something going on here.
You know it's something.
And this must be my polling place. I don't know where it is, but apparently everybody else does. So I think even though you don't necessarily may not have seen the vote here sign because of the campaign signs, it still was kind of a red flag that
Right.
this must be the polling place because of all the campaign signs and the people, holding signs.
All right, very good. Are there any other general comments from any of the board members that they would like to share and get on the record regarding the election on Tuesday? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, the star of the show, so to speak. We're going to now talk about certifying the election results for the May 19th, 2026 general primary and nonpartisan election. And Travis, I will bounce it over to you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, before
Yes,
we
sir.
begin, is there any legal way that we can dispense with the reading of the 65 pages of, or 27 pages of election results in full?
The law actually requires that we read it out loud.
Very good, all right.
It's antiquated, but
If we cannot accept it as information, then I would move that.
That is a legal thing you can look into because
Yeah.
many counties do not read it, do not take the term read as read as defined. They take it as entered into the record, and so they do not. So that's.
Well, then, in that case, I will request that Mr. Doss read quickly.
We could all share. It doesn't say who has to read it into the record.
We all need a page
We could
each.
pass it down.
I don't think I'd be faster.
Okay, but just before we get started, just you'll see that you have before you the unofficial and incomplete, where you'll see we had the 796 absentee ballots. I actually ran a report, and the number now says 788, which it should say. On your report, you see 789 because there was one military ballot that was added into as well.
Right.
So we corrected the duplication to make it 788. We added in the one military to make it 789. And then provisional, when we voted the provisional, there were 27 provisionals. And you'll see here on the report, there are 27 provisionals. So with that, we had a 29.58% turnout. So U.S. Senate race, Buddy Carter, 2,460. Mike Collins, 3,863. John F. Coyle, 158. Derek Dooley, 2,578. Jonathan John McCollum, 360. Total votes was 9,419. For U.S. Senate, Democrat, John Ossoff, 26,250. Governor, Republican, Chris Carr, 1,194. Clark Dean, 93. Rick Jackson, 3,515. Burt Jones, 3,461. Greg Kirkpatrick, 112. Brad Raffensperger, 1,282. Tom Williams, 54. Ken Yeager, 41, for a total of 9,752 votes. Governor, Democrat, Keisha Lance Bottoms, 18,261. Ula Brown, 333. Amanda Duffy, 610. Jeff Duncan, 1,056. Jason Estevez, 1,973. Derek Jackson, 1,186. Michael Mike Thurman, 3,738, for a total of 27,157. Lieutenant Governor, Republican, David Clark, 1,768. Greg Dalzell, 1,658. Steve Gooch, 397. John F. Kennedy, 2,656. Brenda Lynn Nelson Porter, 203. Takosha Swan, 114. Blake Tillery, 2,390. Total votes, 9,186. Lieutenant Governor, Democrat, Josh McLaren, 8,091. Nabolio Parks, 9,309. Richard N. Wright, 8,516, for a total of 25,916. Secretary of State, Republican, Tim Fleming, 4,034. Vernon Jones, 1,912. Kelvin King, 860. Ted Metz, 860. Ted Metz, 655. Gabriel Gabe Sterling, 1,061, for a total of 8,522. Secretary Democrat, Cam Ashling, 2,963. Dana Barrett, 8,104. Penny Brown Reynolds, 12,285. Adrian Consunnery Jr., 2,531, for a total of 24,883. 25,883. Thank you. Attorney General, Republican, Bill Calzert, 2,181. Brian Strickland, 6,448, for a total of 8,629. Attorney General, Democrat, Tanya Miller, 23,442. Robert Bob Trammell, 2,859, for a total of 26,301. Commissioner of Agriculture, Republican, Tyler Harper, 8,268 total. Commissioner of Agriculture, Democrat, Catherine Arnold, 14,550. Cedric Rowe, 11,135, for a total of 25,685. Commissioner of Insurance, Republican, John King, 8,029. Commissioner of Insurance, Democrat, Clarence Blaylock, 3,920. Thomas Dean, 2,077. AJ John, 2,291. Deandra Mathis, 5,443. Keisha Shawn Waits, 12,201. State School Superintendent, Republican. Neville Lee, 254. Fred Bubba Longlear, 2,159. Misha Maynard, 385. Randall Trammell, 1,129. Richard Woods, 4,765, for a total of 8,692. State School Superintendent, Democrat, Anton Anthony, 8,983. Lydia Powell, 12,527. Otha Thornton, 4,374, for a total of 25,884. Commissioner of Labor, Republican, Barbara Rivera Holmes, 7,825. Commissioner of Labor, Democrat, Brett Holm, 5,210. Jason Moon, 23,041. Kiki Porcher, 8,347. Michelle Mitchie Sanchez, 5,763. Christian Y. Smith, 4,138, for a total of 25,799. Public Service Commission, District 3, Republican, Fritz Johnson, 3,847. Brandon Martin, 3,926, total 7,783. Commission, Public Service Commission, District 3, Democrat, Pete Hubbard, 24,307. Public Service Commission, District 5, Republican, Bobby Meehan, 3,108. Carolyn Roddy, 1,755. Josh Talbert, 2,911. Total, 7,774. Public Service Commission, District 5, Democrat, Craig Cupid, 4,383. Sheila Evans, 15,103. 15,103. Angela Presley, 6,237. U.S. House of Representative, District 12, Republican, Rick Allen, 8,503. Tory Branham, 1,107, for a total of 9,610. U.S. House of Representatives, District 12, Democrat, Tracy George, 7,327. Tracell Nichols, 3,148. Coretta Smith, 8,236. Chris Stevens, 2,550. Brianna Woodson, 4,754, for a total of 26,015. State School Superintendent, District 22, Democrat, Harold Jones, 24,467. State Senate, District 23, Republican, Max Burns, 1,270. State Senate, District 23, Democrat, Shauna Boston, 1,056. Shatora Reagan, 363, for a total of 1,419. State House Representative 126, Republican, William Harris, 764. State House Representative District 126, Democrat, Elsie Miles, 5,468. State House Representative District 127, Republican, Mark Newton, 2,324. State House Representative 127, Democrat, Channing Taylor, 1,732. State House Representative District 129, Democrat, Scott Chambers, 1,202. Carlton Howard, 4,478. State House Representative 130, Republican, David Carson, 1,208. Thomas McAdams, 944, for a total of 2,152. State House Representative District 130, Shaquinta Quarles, 1,839. Karen Jordan, 1,323. Sheila Clark Nelson, 3,603. Lon Pickney Mealing, 395, for a total of 7,160. State House Representative District 132, Democrat, Jermian Prince, 5,840. Party question 1, yes, 8,771, no, 879, 872, total of 9,643. Republican question number 2, yes, 8,553, no, 1,085, total 9,638. Party question 3, Republican, yes, 8,005, no, 1,523, total 9,528. Republican Party question number 4, yes, 8,482, no, 1,047, total 9,529. Republican Party question number 5, yes, 8,947, no, 700, total 9,647. Republican Party question number 6, yes, 8,927, no, 600, total 9,527. Party question number 7, Republican, yes, 8,520, no, 1,115, total 9,635. Republican question number 8, yes, 8,732, no, 866, total 9,568. Party question Democrat, 1, yes, 1,395, no, 25,990. Party question Dem, 2, yes, 1,684, no, yes, no, 25,465, for a total of 27,149. Democratic Party question number 3, yes, 26,337, no, 1,020, total 27,357. Democratic Party question number 4, yes, 26,601, no, 785, total 27,386. Democratic Party question number 5, yes, 24,712, no, 2,595, for a total of 27,307. Democratic Party question number 6, yes, 25,646, no, 1,665, total 27,311. Democratic Party question number 7, yes, 26,807, no, 526, total 27,333. Party question number 8, Democratic, yes, 24,912, no, 2,306, total 27,218. Democratic Party question number 9, yes, 25,181, no, 1,981, total 27,162. Justice Supreme Court, Charles Bethel, 15,473, Miracle Rankin, 20,833, total 26,306. Supreme Court Justice Ben Land, 33,128. Supreme Court Justice Jen Jordan, 15,001. Sarah Warren, 21,023, for a total of 26,024. Court of Appeals Georgia, Trent Brown, 23,389. Will Wooten, 12,011, total 35,400. Court of Appeals Judge Sarah Doyle, 33,630. Court of Appeals Fatima Felton, 19,409. Elizabeth Goebel, 16,186. Total 35,595. Judge Court of Appeals David Markle, 33,209. Court of Appeals Judge Paget, 33,656. Superior Court Augusta Judicial Circuit Amanda Heath, 33,752. Superior Court Augusta Judicial Circuit Jesse Stone, 33,506. Superior Court Augusta Judicial Circuit Alexis Davis Payne, 17,692. Ashley Wright, 19,756. State Court Ashanti Lily Pound, 33,679. State Court Monique Walker, 34,166. Chief Judge, Civil and Magistrate Court Carletta Sims Brown, 33,845. For Mayor, Eric Gaines, 5,443. Garnett Johnson, 16,321. Stephen Kendricks, 13,542. Lori Miles, 2,838, for a total of 38,144. Augusta Commission District 2, Corey Johnson, 1,564. Stacy Pulliam, 1,665, for a total of 3,229. Augusta Commission District 4, Alvin Mason, 1,939. Lonnie Wimberly, 3,251, for a total of 5,190. Augusta Commission District 6, Tamika Bean, 2,645. Tony Lewis, 1,812, for a total of 4,457. Augusta Commission District 8, Michael Chofee, 1,923. Roger Garvin, 696. Yvette Williams, 2,455, for a total of 5,074 votes. Augusta Commission District 10, Wayne Guilfoyle, 11,165. Ben Hassan, 9,088. A total of 20,253. SPLOST question, reimposition, non-imposition, special 1% sales tax. Yes, 22,223. No, 15,714. Total votes, 37,937. Special 1 cent sales tax for property tax. Yes, 1.5%. Thank you.
You're there.
Yes, 27,018. No, 11,179, for a total of 38,197. That concludes the reading of votes.
Is that thunder?
Yes.
Okay, so pass out the paper.
So we need a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept, we certify the numbers as read.
Second.
Motion is second to accept and certify the numbers as read into the record. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against nay. That motion carries.
You have 4 sheets that I'll be passing down, one for the Republican primary, one for Democratic primary, one for the nonpartisan election, and 2 for the questions as they appeared on the ballot.
Next.
You're getting bored now.
Making more sense.
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
possible?
He's done well.
You a lizard?
You deserve a treat. Some ice cream or something.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're announcing the last and final show.
Now, we do have some other documents to execute, Travis?
Yes, ma'am. So we do have a resolution that needs to be signed. It is a resolution, I apologize for not giving y'all a copy of this. It is the resolution regarding the 1 cent sales tax for the reimposition or non-imposition of the sales tax that basically the board has to resolve regarding the putting the votes. So I have filled out the total number of votes cast, the total number of blank votes, the total number of voted votes, the number of people who voted for the 1 cent sales tax, and the people that voted against the 1 cent sales tax. If you would like to, if you need to review this, I can pass this down.
So it's a declaration. I'll sign, pass it.
Well, y'all need to, oh, you want to sign before you vote?
Oh, well, fair enough, yeah. Pass that along.
Okay,
I'm
well,
fine with it.
okay. I'm fine with this. Madam Chair, I move that we,
Verify these numbers.
Okay.
Can we do that?
that, yes, the numbers for, the total of numbers for yes would be 22,223. Nays would be 15,714.
Okay. And on the
Total number of votes cast were 37,937. Blank votes cast were 863. Total ballots cast 38,800.
Wait.
Okay, she's reading
Oh, okay.
this stuff
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
So, Madam Chair, I move that we execute the documents for the resolution on the sales tax.
Yeah, hold on just a minute.
Are you reading it differently?
Well,
Because it says total voted ballots cast, so I took this number as the total voted.
okay.
Total blank is that,
Okay.
total ballots cast is that.
Which would be the blank added to,
Right, the total ballots cast was
Okay.
38,800. Of that, 693 were blank,
and then
and
there's,
then these two
breakdowns.
added together.
Very good.
That's the way I read it.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to sign the resolution for the 1 cent
Accept that.
sales tax. Was there a second to that?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of executing the resolution, say aye.
All right.
Those against, nay. Motion carries.
All right, so-
Execute away.
All right, we have to say 5 ayes, 0 nays. Okay, this is the second year.
Yes. So we have nothing to sign here.
Right,
Okay. Very good.
Secretary.
Not on that.
okay, this one.
When does this go into effect?
Attorney Plunkett, when does this new sales tax go into effect?
It's a little hard to determine because the sales, but it will go into effect immediately upon the existing SPOS terminating.
Okay.
So it's expected to go into effect, the SPOS is about November of this year. Is about when it should pay out. It varies about collections. So it will be immediately thereafter. So there's not a gap in time.
Would it be fair to say that this is basically a continuation
It's
of
very
an
much a continuation.
existing splice?
It is a continuation of the existing splice.
Right, so it's not an increase, it's just an
It
extension.
is, we have
extension
an
once
existing
this-
1 cent, and this is to continue the 1 cent sales
Okay.
tax.
Thank you.
And this resolution is what goes into the validation, so they can bond the project.
We'll get a copy of it though, Travis, though. Do we get a copy of it?
If you'd like one.
Yes.
Here we are, and then we have another one coming down.
No.
There's nothing on
But
the,
this is, and then the.
Thank you.
There was a, Travis, it was a secretary certificate.
I got that.
Perfect.
She's asking about the lost.
Uh,
I had signed it,
Yes,
somebody else had
so
signed it, I
I
signed
don't believe FLOSS requires that because it's not going into a validation, but I will verify before y'all's next meeting, and if it is, I will bring it with me.
thank you, sir. Okay, very good. So the election is certified. Is there any more business to come before the board today? If not, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, make the recommendation, the motion that we adjourn our meeting.
Okay.
Second.
The motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against nay. Motion carries.